88, which is as per old Mahatma letters. It is letter number 10. So it is letter number 10. And this letter, in fact, written by Mr. Sinnett, as it was dictated or somehow other given to Sinnett on the question of what we are here to read about this preliminary chapter on God. It was given some kind of notes made by Mahatma K.H. and Sinnett prepare it, and the original is in the London Library. And here in this letter, it is mentioned by great theosophist when it was published in 1923, that it was one of the most controversial letter. So Joy Mills, what she told to us, who is a expert of this Mahatma letter, she conducted several school of wisdom in India. There are also outside India, and you will find her speeches in YouTube on Mahatma letters. She mentioned that this is one of the most challenging letters in the entire series. So she has given just, I am just recollecting, reminding the participants who are there at last program on 11th. And there are some few who have joined today also. So these three things in this letter Mahatma mentioned, relating the concept of God, concept of matter, and concept of evils. And Joy Mills, while reviewing the letter number 88, she mentioned this is relating to Hume's preliminary chapter, which he wrote to Mahatma, and Mahatma given some notes. It is relating that it is some kind of occult philosophy, esoteric philosophy on the concept of God. Then second point, Joy Mills mentioned about this God, or the concept of God, which was at that time prevailing all over the world, particularly western part of the world, among the Christian missionaries and also the Hindus. This what is their views? So Mahatma mentioned it, theological absurdity, or while he mentioned that it is God of the theologians. So theologians, we all know what type of people they are. Then finally, Mahatma mentioned about the God among the Buddhist, those who many are who are not believing existence of God, in the form of an anthropomorphic deity. So all these things Madam Joy Mills given in her book, The Wisdom, Reflection of an Ageless Wisdom. So in that book, she mentioned many things, many points she given to us. We have completed almost slide number 9. Let us meditate for a couple of seconds, 5 seconds at least, some of the important points which we have discussed, which created some kind of interest among us. Let us start with that. First sentence in the first slide number 1. Neither our philosophy, nor ourselves believe in a God, least of all in one whose pronoun necessitates a capital H. So, important point, just for a few seconds you ponder over what is the intention, why Mahatma said so. Then next point for meditation, Param is not a God, but absolute immutable law. And Ishvara is the effect of avidya and maya, ignorance based upon the great delusion. So here Mahatma mentioned about the God, about the Param, and he categorically mentioned that Param is not a God, but absolute immutable law. If you make a law in the form of a God is an entity with anthropomorphic figures having within the limitation of time and space. So Mahatma denied that Param Brahma is not a God, but an absolute immutable law, a principle, a tattva. Of course, I.K. Taimini in her book, in his book, Man, God, Universe, he mentioned also the same thing, absolute immutable law, which is a principle, and there is no question of any entity. And Ishvara is the effect of avidya and maya. Ishvara means the human being created or try to establish God in the form of a form, in the form of an entity. Many Hindus have different gods, God figures they have created. So they called it as Ishvara, because Mahatma mentioned is the effect of avidya and maya, ignorance based upon great illusion. These 2 points, we can see that how Mahatma explained it subsequently. Then next, the word God was invented to designate the unknown cause of those effects. What is those effects? Unknown cause. So let us observe silently what affects us. What are the unknown cause of those effects for which man invented a God? Then second important point, last week we discussed the idea of God is not an innate means inborn, natural process, but an acquired notion. The idea of God is not an innate but an acquired notion. Acquired notion means somebody acquired this notion that God is so and so. This next point for meditation. The God of the theologian is simply an imaginary power. The God of theologian is simply an imaginary power. Just meditate 5-6 seconds on it. Theologians means there are theologians in Christian religion, Hindu religion, every religion. So they believe that it is in a God in imaginary power. Then our chief aim means Mahatma mentioned, the inner founders of Theosophical Society mentioned, our chief aim is to deliver humanity of this nightmare, to teach man virtue for its own sake, and to walk in life relying on himself instead of leaning on a theological crutch. This is the main crux of the occult philosophy. Don't rely upon anyone, either guru, nor masters, nor your senior members, or whatsoever you may imagine. Don't rely upon any authority, either a figure or a book or anything. They may be helpful to you in initial stages, but you have to stand on your own. So Mahatma mentioned here, chief aim to deliver humanity. Means this is the chief aim of not only great rishis, but it is the aim of the Theosophical Society for the humanity. To deliver the humanity of this nightmare, to teach man virtue of its own sake. We have to teach each and every human being, those who have ear to listen and eye to see, to walk in life. Walk in life means in a daily life we have to walk. We have to struggle, we have to stand on our own feet. Relying on himself, fully we will rely on ourselves instead of leaning on theological crutch. Then the continuous of that sentence, that point in this slide, that countless ages was the direct cause of nearly all human misery. All human misery, because we are relying upon the crutch, theological crutch, either in a figure or in a book or in anything, doing nothing. Mahatma mentioned, which is subsequently J. Krishnamurti also mentioned, the same nature human being for last millennium and millennium years. We may be very modern, advanced, but our nature is same as it was millennium years ago. Krishnamurti, modern philosopher, he also says so. Then we will go to the next slide regarding the people accept God as one life. Then another point for the last for the meditation, which you have studied, that a being and independent and omnipresent cannot be limited by anything which is outside of himself, that there can be nothing exterior to himself. So God and the world, manifested world, they cannot be two things. So let us observe silence. Thank you. So Mahatma here giving the idea of God, what it is mean. It is not an entity or a separate being who has created everything, manifested world, or outside of this logos or cosmic logos. So In order to explain it further, we'll go to the next slide. If we ask the theist, is your God vacuum? Theist believe in the existence of a God. Atheist, those who do not believe in the existence of God. So people say, ask the theist, those who believe in God, means say, the present day world, many people are believing in the existence of a God. Is your God a vacuum, space, matter? They will reply, no, our God is not a vacuum or space. And yet they hold that their God penetrates matter, though he is not himself matter. Theists, the believers of God, say that their God, G capital, penetrates matter. Matter, the visible substance, material, whatever you have seen, all are matter. Invisible world, there are also matter like gas, space, etc., etc. So matter is everywhere. And they hold that God penetrates matter, though he is not himself matter. And you see how Mahatma trying to explain their one point, that is absolute immutable law. What is that? Then third point in this slide, when we speak of our one life, that is the main base of the theosophical culture, one life everywhere, oh hidden life vibrant in every atom. One life, Mahatma says, one life, one spirit, no division. There is no division. So we speak of our one life, we also say that it penetrates, nay, is the essence of every atom of the matter. And that therefore, it not only has correspondence with the matter, but all its properties likewise, hence is material, is matter itself. So Mahatma, in this third point of this slide, explained us that one life, whatever you are in this visible, individual world, Prakriti, Mula Prakriti, whatever name for our understanding they have given, or their followers or disciples given to us. So it is the essence of everything. It is the matter itself. The matter they have Mahatma given in a separate, after the separate, in this subchapter, in this slide, in this letter. So we'll go further to understand. Then further Mahatma mentioned, how can intelligence proceed to emanate from non-intelligence? How can intelligence of a being, how can intelligence proceed to emanate from non-intelligence? You kept asking last year, Hume question was that. How could a highly intelligent humanity, man, the crown of reason, be evolved out of blind, unintelligent law or force? It was just some kind of a question to Sinet, Brother Hugh. But once we reason on that, here Mahatma mentioned, once we reason on that, I may ask in my turn, how could congenital idiots, non-reasoning animals, and the rest of creation have been created by or evolved from absolute wisdom, if the latter is a thinking, intelligent being, the author and ruler of the universe? So everything Mahatma tried to convince the Hume, Brother Hume, or the Western world, then how can this be possible? A non-reasoning animals, a congenial idiots, the whatever it is visible to us. There are many types of animals, human beings, etc. How they are created, evolved from? Is it the thinking intelligent being? God is a thinking intelligent being. If a God is a thinking intelligent being, how can he created the such type of persons, animals, all these things? So it is a quotation from says Dr. Clark in his exemption of the proof of the existence of the divinity, which Mahatma mentioned here. Then God who has made the eye, God who has made the eye, shall he not see? God who has made the ear, shall he not hear? Then it is another type of satirical wordings given uh, to not only to Hume, but people who are like Hume among us. But according to this mode of reasoning, they would have to admit that in creating an idiot God means he has no ear, no ear, is an idiot, that he who made so many irrational beings. Idiot God means theologian God is an irrational being. So many physical, moral monsters must be an irrational being. Must be an irrational being. Who is irrational being? The God created by the theologian. Then Mahatma here clarified about this Advait Vedantis, Dvaiti, Advaitis. We are not Advaitis, Mahatma mentioned, but our teaching means occult philosophy, esoteric philosophy, whatever name, our teaching respecting the one life is identical with that of Advait with regard to Param Brahm, with regard to Param Brahm. We are not Advaitis. Kindly I might make highlighted it. We are not Advaitis, but our teachings respecting the one life is identical with that of Advaiti with regard to Param Brahm. So Mahatma here he says that they are not Advaitis, but their teachings identical with regard to Param Brahma. What is their teachings? One life. Or what is their teaching? One absolute principle, absolute law. It's like that. Then we will go to the next slide to understand this further. Sorry. And no true philosophically trained Advaiti will ever call himself an agnostic, for he knows that he is Param Brahm and identical in every respect with the universal life and soul. The macrocosm is the microcosm, and he knows that there is no God apart from himself, no creator as no being. So what is the Vedanta's philosophy, Advaiti? Here Mahatma in a single sentence mentioned that Advaiti says he knows that he is Param Brahm, Advaiti Vedanti says, and identical in every respect of the universal life and soul. Having found gnosis, we cannot turn our back on it and become agnostic. This is the difference between gnosis and agnostics. Were we to admit that even the highest Dhanchans are liable to err under a delusion, then there would be no reality for us to indeed, and the occult science would be as great a chimera as that God. If there is an absurdity in denying that, which you do not know, it is still more extravagant to assign to it unknown laws. So here Mahatma given and some kind of interpretation regarding Advaiti and our philosophy, one life, one law. Relating to that, T. Subbarao, a great theosophist, great lawyer of 1930s, whom Madame Blavatsky given to edit the secret doctrine before she handed over it to Blavatsky, to Annie Besant. Here, T. Subbarao mentioned that but he is a great Advaiti and also disciple of one of our masters. Side by side, Blavatsky, a great Buddhist, she is also a disciple of one master. So there are, I have not seen, there are somewhere mentioned that both are sitting at the under the leg of the great teacher. So before the great teacher, before the inner founders, whether you are Advaiti or a Buddhist, no difference. They are the great ones. So under their feet, these two disciples, Swami Subbarao and Blavatsky, were seated. So we'll see what Swami Subbarao mentioned, which Madam Joy Mills quoted in the book. So he mentioned in that book, the book is Philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. The first principle is the existence of what is called Param Brahm, the one essence of everything in the cosmos. Now this Param Brahm, which exists before all things in the cosmos, is the one essence from which starts into existence of center of energy, which I shall for the present call the Logos. This Logos may be called in the language of old writers either Ishvara or Pratyagatma or Sabda Brahma. It is written by great Advaitis of our Theosophical Society in the book Philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So, Jaim is further quoted. It is called the verbum or the word by Christians. And it is the divine Christos who is eternally in the bosom of the Father. It is called Avilakatashara by Buddhists. From its objective standpoint, that is Logos, Parambram, appear it to as a Mula Prakriti. Parambram, then coming to Mula Prakriti, the cosmic matter. Mula Prakriti. This Mula Prakriti is no more Parambram. This Mula Prakriti is no more Parambram than the bundle of attributes is the pillar itself. Parambram is an unconditioned Parambram. We should be aware of how our student of theosophy in the early 1930s or 40s, how they are given in different books the very essence of philosophy. So, Brother Swami Subbarao mentioned that Parambram is an unconditioned and absolute reality, and Mula Prakriti is a sort of veil thrown over it. Sort of veil thrown over it. Parambram by itself cannot be seen as it is. Very interesting sentence. Parambram cannot be seen as it is. My soul, soul of myself, cannot be seen unless I have the veil. I have these 7 bodies. Like that, imagine that Parambram, who is the ultimate reality, absolute immutable love, cannot be seen unless there is a veil. It is seen by the Logos with a veil thrown upon it. Surya Narayana can see the Param Brahma if there is a veil thrown over it, and that veil is the mighty expanse of the cosmic matter. That is the mode of Prakriti. It is the basis of material manifestation in the cosmos. Creation or evolution is commenced by the intellectual energy of the Logos. This light of the Logos is the link, so to speak, between the objective matter, objective thought of Ishvara. It is called the several Buddhist book as a Pohat. It is also written in a secret doctrine, Mahatma letters, the word Pohat, that is the some kind of power, Shakti, all these things there. So, Madam Joy Mills explained this point relating to Advaita Vedanti, which Mahatma explained here, that about the Advaiti and this relationship of one life. Then we will go to the next slide. According to the logic, nothing is that of which everything can truly be denied. Nothing can truly be affirmed. The idea, therefore, either of a finite or infinite, nothing is a contradiction in terms. So here, the first part, according to logic, nothing is that of which everything can truly be denied. Nothing can be truly affirmed. So, if we think over it, this matter, this particular slide, everything is everywhere visible to us. Visible, invisible, or everything is present there. So this sentence needs a deep meditation to understand that everything is there somewhere in some book, zero and infinite. It mentioned some books, some places that Brother I.K. Termini in Man, God, Universe mentioned zero and infinite, and he explained it there. Then here Maharaj mentioned the God, the self-existent being, according to theologian. Theologian means those who created God in their own ways. God, the self-existent being, is a most simple, unchangeable, incorruptible being without parts, figures, motion, divisibility, or any other such properties as we find in matter. For all such things so plainly and necessarily imply finiteness in their very notion and are utterly inconsistent with the complete infinity. So we cannot say the absolute immutable law or God, Ishvara, is infinite, omnipotent, all-present, omnipowerful, everything. Side by side, we give him, limited him with some kind of part, some kind of figure. So Mahatma said that this implies the finiteness in their very notion. Theologian notion, they made God in a finiteness, when limited their figure, and are utterly inconsistent with complete infinity, whatever they are projecting them as. Then therefore, the God here offered to the adoration of the 19th century, means at that time, 19th century, when Theosophical Society was formed in 1875, that is 19th century, the God, what was prevalent at that time, lacks every quality upon which man's mind is capable of fixing any judgment. What is this in fact but a being of whom they can affirm nothing that is not instantly contradicted? Their own Bible their own Bible, their revelation, destroy all the moral preconceptions they heap upon him, unless indeed they call those qualities perfection that every other man, reason and common sense call imperfection, odious, vices, and brutal wickedness. Here, Mahatma mentioned the situation prevailing in 19th century about the God. And in this, their own Bible, Christians, their revelation destroy all the moral conception they heap upon him, unless indeed they call these qualities perfection. So we'll go to the next slide, further clarification by Mahatmas. Nay more, he who reads our Buddhist scriptures written for the superstitious masses will fail to find in them a demon so vindictive, unjust, so cruel, so stupid as the celestial tyrant upon whom the Christian prodigal lavish their servile worship, and on whom their theologians heap those perfections they are contradicted on every page of their Bible. So Mahatma here given a distinction between theological branches of theology of Christian religion as well as Buddhist scripture. How the difference is between Buddhist scripture, where given for the masses, superstitious masses, for their progress in the spiritual path, what they have to do, Ashtanga Marga, etc. given. So it was given in the Buddhist scripture for the masses. But in comparison to that, the Christian missionaries, what they have projected there. So that is the difference between Christian scriptures projecting God, lavish their servile worship, and on whom their theologians heap their perfection, etc., etc. And side by side, it contradicts every page of their Bible. And whereas, what are the position of Buddhist? Because our Mahatmas are great student of this Buddhist philosophy. So it is mentioned in such a manner. Then second point in this slide, truly and heritably, your theology has created her God, but to destroy him piecemeal. Your church is the fable of Satan, who begets children, but to devour them. Here Mahatma mentioned how the Christian missionaries are preparing the God. So here Mahatma mentioned relating to Christian way of projecting God, and also how the children, how they are suffering, in which way they are suffered by the theologians. Then here Mahatma particularly mentioned the universal mind, the mind in page number 272. A few reflection and argument ought to support every new idea. For instance, we are sure to take to task for the following apparent contradiction. We deny the existence of a thinking, conscious God on the grounds that such a God must either be conditioned. Why the inner founders, why Mahatmas denied the existence of a conscious God? Conscious God, you are conscious people, there are many people who are conscious. So existence of a thinking conscious God. You can imagine, if it is not an immutable law, which Blavatsky says in Key to Theosophy, Aiketa man and inverse, man, God, inverse. If it is not a absolute immutable law, then what it is? A thinking conscious God. So Mahatma denied. So Blavatsky and Aiketa also given that in that line. So we deny the thinking on the ground. Why they have denied? That God, if it is a thinking conscious God, must either be conditioned, limited, subject to change, therefore not infinite. The first principle of secret doctrine, absolute, immutable law, omnipresent, omniscient, etc., etc. So you cannot say that God, thinking conscious God, side by side, it can be infinite. Number 2, if he is represented to us as an eternal, unchangeable, independent being, if a thinking conscious God, if he says that it is an eternal, unchangeable, independent being with not a particular nature in him, then we answer that it is no being but an immutable, blind principle, a law that he is here mentioned. Then yet they will say that we believe in dhyans or planetary spirit and endow them with a universal mind. This must be explained. Our religions may be briefly sum of thus. So Mahatma denied the existence of a super universal God, conscious God entity. But side by side, he clarified why they have denied. But they have sum up this way saying that there are planetary spirit, dhan, chavans, and they have given that we denied the absurd proposition that there can be, even in the boundless eternal universes, two infinite eternal omnipresent existences. Two means one is creating everything, another is here the whole galaxy, universes, etc., etc. Matter we know to be eternal, having had no beginning, because matter is nature itself. Matter is nature itself. Second, third, because of that which cannot annihilate itself and is indestructible, exists unnecessarily, therefore it could not begin to be, nor can it cease to be. So this is the principle, this is the tattva. Then third point, because the accumulated experience of countless ages and that of exact science, so to us matter or nature, acting by her own peculiar energy, of which not an atom is ever an absolute state of rest, and therefore it must have always existed, that is, its materials ever-changing form, combinations and properties, but its principles or elements being absolutely indestructible. So, Mahatma in this third C point mentioned that this accumulated experience of a countless ages and that exact science so to us means the experience they gain, the Mahatma gained by their so many years of millennium years, there this wisdom means the occult hierarchy is there. So because of the accumulated experience of countless ages, this occult hierarchy, and that exact science so to us, exact science means occult science, so to Mahatmas, the matter or nature, Prakriti you can say matter, acting by her own peculiar energy, of which not an atom is ever in an absolute state of rest. That is the reason one of our inner founder, even to Blavatsky, this universal innovation, oh, hidden life, vibrant in every atom, so there is no rest for anything. Even in our body, in our everything, every time movement is going on, vibration is going on. Absolutely, there is no rest, and therefore it always existed. Its material ever changing form. Inside, outside we can see there are many changes, combination property, but its principle, elements, tattva, etc. is absolutely indestructible. So, brother, thank you very much. It's a very tough subject for us. Just to only to meditate, only to instead of rejecting, we shall keep in our mind that we are going through a very tough subject, and which is given to us to our study and also thinking, pondering over, to know why Mahatma said all these things to us. What is the reason behind it? Reason is not we have to accept blindly. Reason is we have to think over it, ponder over it, and try to learn something. If it is acceptable to us, then we should accept it as far as possible. As far as we are in this stage of evolution, we can accept it. But my humble submission is, my way is not to reject anything, but to think over it, meditate over it, and let us think and analyze it and continue our study, meditation. Then we will continue our work. Thank you very much, Vivaji.
Thank you so much, sir. This was such a deep topic. We were so lost in this explanation, deeply pondering over it, that we didn't realize when it was already time to come to a halt for this session. So I now request Sister Meenakshi ji to give us the translation in Hindi, and after which we can have a discussion with all our participants.
Namaste. Thank you, sister. Thank you, brother Mahapatra ji. आज हम लेटर नंबर 88 का उर्वरित पोर्शन ले रहे हैं, अगला पोर्शन ले रहे हैं। मास्टर कहते हैं कि यदि हम किसी आस्तिक से यह पूछे कि कहीं आपके भगवान शून्यता है, आकाश या प्रकृति है, तब वे उत्तर देंगे नहीं, और फिर भी वे मानते हैं कि उनका ईश्वर प्रकृति के भीतर है, यद्यपि वह स्वयं प्रकृति नहीं है, पदार्थ नहीं है। जब हम अपने परब्रह्म की बात करते हैं, तब हम यह भी कहते हैं कि यह प्रकृति के प्रत्येक परमाणु में स्थित है, उसका सारा तत्व है, और इसलिए यह न केवल प्रकृति के साथ मेल खाता है, बल्कि उसके सभी गुण विशेष वैसे ही है। अतः वह भौतिक है, पदार्थ ही है। आप पिछले साल पूछते रहे कि इंटेलिजेंस बुद्धिमत्ता और गैर बुद्धिमत्ता से कैसे उत्पन्न, बुद्धिमत्ता गैर बुद्धिमत्ता से उत्पन्न कैसे हो सकती है। अत्यधिक बुद्धिमान मानवता, मनुष्य जो तर्क का शिरोमणि है, वह चेतना शून्य नियम या शक्ति से कैसे विकसित हो सकता है। लेकिन जब हम उस पर तर्क करते हैं, विचार करते हैं, मैं अपनी ओर से यह पूछ सकता हूँ कि जन्मजात जड़ बुद्धि वाले गैर तर्कशील प्राणी और बाकी सृष्टि परम ज्ञान द्वारा कैसे उत्पन्न हुई या विकसित की गई, यदि वह एक विचारशील बुद्धिमान सत्ता है, ब्रह्मांड का रचयिता और शासक है, कैसे? ऐसा दिव्यत्व के अस्तित्व के प्रमाण की अपनी जांच में डॉक्टर क्लार्क कहते हैं, जिन्होंने आंखें बनाई वह ईश्वर, क्या वह देख नहीं सकता? जिन्होंने कान बनाए वह ईश्वर, क्या सुन नहीं सकता? लेकिन इस तर्क की पद्धति के अनुसार उन्हें यह स्वीकारना होगा कि एक जड़ बुद्धि मनुष्य बनाने में ईश्वर जड़ बुद्धि है, कि जिसने इतने सारे तर्कहीन जीवों की इतने सारे भौतिक और नैतिक राक्षसों की रचना की, वह भी एक तर्कहीन होना चाहिए। हम अद्वैतवादी नहीं है, लेकिन परब्रह्म के संबंध में हमारी शिक्षा अद्वैतवादी के समान रूप है। और कोई भी सच्चे दार्शनिक रूप से प्रशिक्षित अद्वैती कभी भी स्वयं को अनिश्वरवादी नहीं कहेगा, क्योंकि वह जानता है कि वह परब्रह्म है और सर्वव्यापी चैतन्य और जीव के साथ हर तरह से समान रूप से है, यथा पिंडे तथा ब्रह्मांडे। और वह जानता है कि उससे भिन्न कोई ईश्वर नहीं है, किसी भी रूप में कोई सृजनकर्ता नहीं है। ज्ञान मार्ग पाने के बाद हम इससे मुंह नहीं मोड़ सकते हैं और अज्ञेयवादी नहीं बन सकते। यदि हमें यह स्वीकार करना है कि उच्चतम ध्यान चौहान भी माया के तहत गलती कर सकते हैं, तो वास्तव में हमारे लिए कोई सत्यता नहीं होगी और गुह्य विद्या उस ईश्वर की तरह ही एक महान मिथ्या परिकल्पना होगी जिसे हम नहीं जानते हैं। यदि उस चीज को नकारना बेतुकी बात है, तो उसे अज्ञात नियम कहना और भी अधिक फिजूल बात है। तर्क के अनुसार ऐसा कुछ नहीं है जिसके बारे में हर चीज को वास्तव में नकारा जा सकता है और किसी भी चीज की वास्तव में पुष्टि नहीं की जा सकती है। इसलिए या तो सीमित या असीमित कुछ भी नहीं का यह विचार एक विरोधाभास है। और फिर भी धर्मशास्त्रियों के अनुसार स्वयंभू सत्ता ईश्वर सबसे सरल, शुद्ध, अजर, अमर, अपरिवर्तनीय, अविनाशी सत्ता है, जो निर्गुण निराकार है, जो गतिहीन है, अविभाज्य है, या ऐसी कोई भी गुण विशेषता नहीं है जिसे हम प्रकृति में पाते हैं, क्योंकि ऐसी सभी चीजें स्पष्टतः और अनिवार्यतः अपनी धारणा में सीमितता को दर्शाती है और पूर्ण अनंतता से पूरी तरह से असंगत है। इसलिए 19वीं सदी के जिस ईश्वर की आराधना हो रही है, उसमें हर उस गुण का अभाव है जिसके आधार पर मनुष्य का मन कोई भी निर्णय ले। वास्तव में यह एक ऐसी सत्ता है जिसके बारे में वे ऐसे किसी भी बात की पुष्टि नहीं कर सकते जिसका तुरंत खंडन न किया गया। उनकी अपनी बाइबल, उनके धर्मोपदेश उन सभी नैतिक धारणाओं को ध्वस्त करते हैं जो वे उस पर थोपते हैं, जब तक कि वे उन गुणों को परिपूर्ण नहीं कहते जिन्हें हर किसी का तर्क और समझ अपूर्ण, घृणित, दोष और क्रूर दुष्टता कहता है। इतना ही नहीं, अंधविश्वासी जनता के लिए लिखे गए हमारे बौद्ध धर्म ग्रंथों को जो पढ़ता है, वह उनमें एक असुर को इतना प्रतिकारशील, अन्यायी, इतना क्रूर और इतना मूर्ख नहीं पाएंगे जितना कि वह दैवी तानाशाह जिसकी पूजा में ईसाई अपने आप को न्योछावर करते हैं, जिस पर उनके धर्मशास्त्री ऐसा गुणगान करते हैं जिनका उनकी बाइबल के प्रत्येक पृष्ठ पर खंडन किया गया है। सही मायने में और सचमुच आपके धर्मशास्त्र ने उसके भगवान को रचा, लेकिन उसे टुकड़ों में नष्ट करने के लिए। विलक्षण शनि की तरह आपका चर्च है, जो बच्चों की उपज तो करता है लेकिन उन्हें पीड़ित करने। आगे मास्टर यूनिवर्सल माइंड महत्व के बारे में अपने विचार रखते हैं। वे कहते हैं कि प्रत्येक नए विचार के अनुमोदन के लिए, समर्थन के लिए थोड़ा चिंतन और तर्क वितर्क जरूरी है। उदाहरण के लिए, निम्नलिखित कथित विरोधाभासों के लिए निश्चित ही हमें आड़े हाथ लेंगे। पहला है, हम एक विचारशील चेतनामयी ईश्वर के अस्तित्व को इस आधार पर नकारते हैं कि ऐसा ईश्वर या तो पक्षपाती, सीमित और परिवर्तनशील रहेगा, इसलिए वह अनंत अमर्याद नहीं है। या यदि उसे हम एक शाश्वत, अविनाशी, अपरिवर्तनीय और स्वतंत्र अस्तित्व के रूप में प्रस्तुत करते हैं जिसमें प्रकृति का एक भी कण नहीं है, तो हम कहेंगे कि यह कोई सत्ता नहीं बल्कि एक अपरिवर्तनीय अज्ञ सिद्धांत है। और फिर भी वे कहेंगे कि हम ध्यानी चौहानों में, प्लैनेटरी स्पिरिट्स में विश्वास करते हैं और उन्हें यूनिवर्सल माइंड प्रदान करते हैं, और इसे स्पष्ट किया जाना चाहिए। आगे वे कहते हैं कि इस असीमित और शाश्वत ब्रह्मांड में भी दो अनंत शाश्वत और सर्वव्यापी अस्तित्व हो सकते हैं। ऐसे बेतुके प्रस्ताव को हम नकारते हैं। हम जानते हैं कि प्रकृति शाश्वत है, अर्थात वह अनादि है, क्योंकि प्रकृति स्वयं सृष्टि है, क्योंकि जो स्वयं को नष्ट नहीं कर सकता और जो अविनाशी है वह अवश्य ही स्वयंभू है, और इसीलिए वह न तो आदि है न ही अंत है। क्योंकि अनगिनत युगों का हमारा संचित अनुभव और विशुद्ध विज्ञान हमें यह बताता है कि प्रकृति या सृष्टि अपनी विशिष्ट ऊर्जा से कार्य करती है, जिसका कोई भी परमाणु कभी भी पूर्ण विश्राम की स्थिति में नहीं होता है, और इसलिए यह सदा सर्वदा विद्यमान रही होगी। यानी इसके द्रव्य का रूप, सम्मिश्रण और गुण हमेशा बदलते रहते हैं, लेकिन इसके सिद्धांत या तत्व पूर्णतः अविनाशी होते हैं। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. Thank you for that translation in Hindi of such a difficult topic. And now I request anybody who would like to discuss something, or if they have any questions, you may please unmute yourself and speak.
Madam, namaste. I have one question. Am I audible?
Namaste, sir. Yes.
मैडम जामिल ने जो मेंशन किया है, जिससे सर ने बताया, उसमें लिखा है इसको ये जे रोज, ये
Yes,
विलियम
yes.
जे रोज को कोट करते हुए उन्होंने बोला है, इन बुद्धिज्म देयर इज नो मेंशन ऑफ गॉड. In Buddhism, there is no mention of God. One finds in it no mythological vision, no tangible creed. It is as it were, as therapy, a treatment for those who recognize the pain of the human condition and are strong enough to follow the cure which is prescribed.
तो आपका प्रश्न, may I know what's your question?
बुद्धिज्म में जो गॉड की कंसेप्ट है उसके बारे में था, वो क्या है ये समझ में नहीं आया हमको.
Sir, Pradeep ji, request you to throw some light on it.
What is your question, sir?
He wants to understand the concept of God in Buddhism.
Yes.
In Buddhism, there is no particular entity like God, which is giving you pain, giving you happiness. That they are trying, that here Mahatma, who is a great Buddhist, who is a Buddhist also, is trying to mention. Actually, which place you are mentioned? We are citing. That is.
It's the beginning of the letter. Our philosophy falls under the definition of Hobbes. Is that the place?
No. He is a particularly Ross. He is mentioning.
के बाद आगे वो बोलते हैं the Buddha diagnoses the human problem. The Buddha diagnoses the human problem. All is sorrow. He says, then he gives the cause, ignorant, craving. Man suffers because he constantly wants, and when he gets what he wants, he finds it does not satisfy his craving.
Yes. But sir, where you are quoting? Kindly say the page number.
Yes, sir. Online book with page number is not there.
No, can I come in?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Please. Yes, Sampath.
No, the question he was asking, there is no God in Buddhism.
Yes.
So I want to tell him that not only in the Buddhism, In
Yes,
also many other religions as well, it's existed. And existed in our Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma to me is different from Hinduism. Hinduism believe in the anthropomorphic God. In Sanatan Dharma, there was nothing like anthropomorphic God. I'm God, you are God, everybody, listeners, all the participants are God.
yes,
So that should be the understanding. Now, people, many people, Guruji, Baba, and like Sadhguru, even Satya Sai Baba, they did not mention these things, that there is no God, and then they say you must pray, you must do your prayers. But you don't need the church, you don't need the mosque, you don't need the temple. In the Bible, it's mentioned there, our body is a temple of God. So we are the God ourselves, but this is the ignorance that we are not aware that we are God. So this
Right.
is why I like this letter number 10. Is my favorite letter from the master's
Yes.
letters to Epicenet. I
Right.
make so many copies of them and I distribute them to many, many people, so that I said, stop suffering. You will suffer if you believe that God is somewhere in the throne, in the heaven. The word heaven and the hell both have been created by a human being. There is no heaven, there is no hell. When you are happy, you are in heaven. If you are suffering, you are in hell. So there is nothing like heaven existing somewhere.
Yes.
So this understanding should be given to 1.4 billion people in India.
Sir, this is with reference to this Joy Mill's comment. In order to correct Hume's use of the
Yes.
term
You
God,
have that book.
we can turn
Ah,
to the Buddhist perspective on the
yes.
subject, the
Yes.
Universal Flame, published in commemoration of the Theosophical Society in 1975, contains an excellent article by William J. Roche.
Ah,
This was from this portion.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So here Ross has explained about the Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist what they are uh, trying to explain about the God. And there is no confusion. You should not have any confusion about the Buddhist. Buddhist, when the Lord Buddha was asked by a disciple, what is your opinion about God? He remained silent. Like that, Lord, our Krishnamurti also, he remained silent. So, Lord Buddha, what he has given to the people, that we have to follow. Means that at that time, the people have to follow it. But instead of thinking of a God who is giving pain, etc., etc., no, we should not have that in our mind. Anyone, any other senior members who have participated, and many.
In exoteric Buddhism, they have not mentioned any concept of God. Only the 12 Nidan are mentioned, which are basically the causes. And due to those Nidan, this whole existence comes into being. So that is what is given in Buddhism. And the other part which Sampatji you have mentioned, it is very true. It is metaphorically, it is said that God made man in his image. But what has happened is that man has made God in his image. So man has anthropomorphized God. That is how it is happening.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So
I think all the Theosophical Society members should put into practice, to say as much as possible to tell people that maybe up to 2000, year 2000, now the last 23 years have gone into the Kali Yuga is a lot of like a finished, Kali Yuga is finished, and now we are going into Satyug, that there is no God in anthropomorphic form. We were ourselves a spirit. And this is why we are told to meditate, to find out, seek thyself, know thyself. That is what one sentence, 2 words, know thyself is the main thing. And then we have to meditate so that you find out that you are God. You will find. That's what the self-realization man is always finds, that he is divine. He sees himself in the tree, in the stone, in the flower, in every human being. He sees himself in every human being. So he should be put into practice.
True.
So Viraja will close. There is no further anyone.
Okay. So with this, we bring today's session to a close, and we'll continue the same letter. It's a very long letter. So we'll continue in the next session, next Friday. So please join me for the closing prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Lokah Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you all for joining.